Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well, and welcome to another edition of Foxxy FAQs. So, this series I respond to not only questions the viewers may have, but I also reply to general comments and even, yes, the occasional hate mail. As always, feel free to ask me whatever questions you may have, and who knows, maybe it'll be featured in the next video. So with that, let's get rolling along here with the first comment, and this one comes from my Call of Juarez The Cartel review. I feel like this game had some interesting ideas, but a lousy execution. Later saying that sure, it's not exactly the most original idea, but the concept of fighting drug cartels seems novel compared to a lot of the FPS games that came out around the time, where you were mostly fighting against soldiers or aliens. That's very true. Even today, the bulk of our first-person shooters are military-based or space shooters. Very rarely do we get shooters that focus on oddball subjects like gang wars, mafia stuff, or even military shooters that would be considered obscure like Civil War, Spanish War, Korean War, and so on. I would love to see an FPS game that is centered around like the heyday of the Italian mafia. I think that would be pretty interesting. As for Call of Juarez The Cartel, yeah, it was definitely a game that had great ideas on paper, but the overall execution wasn't there. That, and I have no real idea why the game was even a Call of Juarez title. Maybe I was missing something because I haven't played the previous games in many years now. I just couldn't figure out the connection, honestly. In my last thrift store game hunting video, I made a comment about how I avoid GameStops as much as possible unless there is a sale, and turns out I'm not the only one. This comment reads, I have a love-hate relationship with GameStop. I still always stop in just in case they're having a pre-owned sale, and I completely agree. My problem with GameStop is that anytime I go into one, I feel like it's like a used car salesman type thing. Like I'm being pressured into buying or signing up for something I want no business with. I'm sure that stuff comes down from corporate pushing their employees to act a certain way because their sales and overall stock prices have tanked in the past, I think, 5 or 6 years. I get it, but at the same time, it's extremely off-putting. If I understand this right, they seem to be making more money off of merchandise like toys, figures, apparel, plushies, things like that, more so than they're making a profit off of actual video games. I could be completely wrong about that, however, but for some reason I just remember hearing about that somewhere. I got a question regarding my GT racing chair, asking if I was able to fix it. Well, after contacting the company and showing them the video, they sent me an entire new back piece, and all I had to pay was the shipping cost of $20. Some people might bitch and moan and say, why should I have even paid the shipping in the first place? Me personally, I don't care. I don't want to blow another $150+ on another chair if I don't have to. It's only 20 bucks, and if that's all I have to pay for an entire new back piece, whatever, I'm good. There's no sense fighting it. A shame there'll never be a Way of the Samurai 5. So, for those who are not aware, Way of the Samurai is one of my personal favorite game series of all time, and the 5th game was in development. However, they ended up scrapping it in favor of another game called Katana Kami, a Way of the Samurai story, which is like a dungeon crawler with Way of the Samurai characters and setting. I haven't played the game, don't think I will for a long time for that matter. It is upsetting because I've been wanting a new, legit Way of the Samurai game for some time now, but you know, what are you gonna do? Katana Kami doesn't even look bad, it just doesn't look all that appealing when you compare it to the recent samurai games that have come out in the past few years. Are you trying to go after a complete collection of any console's library? Yes, technically I am. The PS2 and maybe the PS3 are the only two systems I've actually been going out of my way to collect the complete sets for. I have so many memories on those two systems, and of all the game consoles I've ever played, I've most enjoyed the games from those two. I do plan on collecting exclusives from others like Xbox and Nintendo, but I've absolutely no desire to collect everything from all consoles. That simply wouldn't work for me. Financially, and considering I'd have to have like a fucking warehouse to store everything, basically. It's not feasible for me whatsoever. Kinda keeping on the same subject, this person asks, was the PlayStation 2 your childhood console? And if so, were you into Microsoft when it came out and Nintendo, or did you just have a PlayStation console for a while? You talk about the PS2 and games you played as a kid a lot, so I figured this would be an interesting little tidbit of information. I was born in '92, so I grew up with Nintendo consoles, and I guess Sega as well, but I really don't have that many memories of those systems for whatever reason. The Super Nintendo was my very first system, at least that I can recall. I had a Sega Genesis, a Game Gear growing up, as well as a Nintendo 64, Game Boy, GameCube, when those came out. However, none of them really hit me as much as the PlayStation consoles did. Yeah, I can pinpoint plenty of amazing Nintendo and Sega games, but the ones that really stuck with me happen to be from those PlayStation systems. So games like Sky Odyssey, Ratchet and Clank, Dark Cloud, Way of the Samurai, Kessen, and various Resident Evil games that were on the PlayStation all had a massive impact on me. Of course, Nintendo and Sega games did as well, it was just nowhere near as much as the PlayStation. I never really got into Xbox until maybe 2014. All my friends had Xbox growing up, and I was one of the very few PlayStation kids. Nowadays, it seems like the total opposite. I don't know many people in my personal life who even play their Xbox versus a PlayStation. People sometimes mistake me for being a PlayStation fanboy when I'm really not whatsoever. I don't give a shit what console the game is on, as long as the game's good. What difference does it make in the long run? Although I will say, I have never been a fan of Xbox controllers, but that doesn't mean I hate the system. It's more of what's more comfortable for me. What if Midway came out with a revamped collection of their old games? Well, they kinda already have in a way. It just depends on what you mean by old games. You see, Midway released multiple compilation discs over the years, like the Arcade Treasure titles on the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, as well as releasing Midway Arcade Origins back in, I think, 2012. If you're talking about revamping games that were made on console, like PsyOps, The Suffering, some Mortal Kombat games, and or whatever else, in a similar format to, say, that of Rare Replay on the Xbox One, I think it's certainly possible for them to do it. It just all comes down to, at this point, whoever owns the rights to Midway's library of games in order for them to make that call. I would personally love to see a Midway Replay type deal. Midway was one of the most popular and best gaming companies out there at one point, producing tons of amazing titles back to back in their heyday. And it'd be really cool to show the kids these days why that was. This next comment is from my review of History Channel's Civil War Secret Missions. This is so much better than History Channel's Battle for the Pacific. That was probably the worst first-person shooter ever made. Oh, I don't know about that one. Yes, the Civil War game, I will agree, is much better than Battle for the Pacific, but as far as it being like the worst first-person shooter, I don't think I can agree with that. I've played far worse first-person shooters. Battle for the Pacific's biggest problem is that it's horrifyingly boring. It doesn't do anything fun or exciting or even remotely interesting. However, it's not unbearable to play, technically. Like, I didn't have to drink alcohol to get through the game, unlike some of the other garbage I've played. Alright, so the final question for today's video is this one here. This YouTuber writes, just found out your channel and have been binging your videos. Just wondering if you have ever gotten annoyed when people bring up, well, on eBay it goes for. In my mind, I always have to stop myself from saying, well, you should be selling it on eBay if you want the high sell, with taxes and fees and shipping. Oh yeah. The eBay comments happen every single time I go to the flea markets, and as soon as they start spatting eBay prices, I check out mentally. I don't care to listen, because a lot of the time they're actually not going for anywhere near what they say. Just because some dickhead put a high price on a listing doesn't mean that's what it's going to sell for. There's been a few times where I've almost said something to call out the sellers, because at the end of the day, what difference is it going to make? I'd rather them not even make the sale and get pissed off because it's overpriced than to bitch them out and have them try to physically fight me or even shoot me. It's not worth it. I got better shit to do. So with that said, everyone, that is going to wrap things up for today's video. Like I said, if you have any comments, concerns, personal or otherwise, let me know in the comments below. Thank you all, as always, for watching and supporting me. I hope you all take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you next time.